Morning, everyone. I want to know the composition of this gathering. First of all, I want to know how many of your grandparents were graduates. Could you please raise their hands? Any volunteer can count? Around? Not more than 15. Please put down your hands. How many of your parents were graduates? More than that. So that means the rest are raw bricks like me. I come from a small village in Tamil Nadu. My parents were uneducated farmers. The only thing they know about education and only thing they wanted me to have is that I should not suffer like them in life as they toil in the hot sun and all the nature fury. They wanted me to somehow study something, get into some government job, work under a fan. That was their only dream. With that, they put me to the school, village school. Those days, of course, I did not know even my actual date of birth because they did not know how to note it down and keep it. So when you go to the school, there will be a table in front of the headmaster. They make you stand in front of that table. Depending on your height, your measurement to the table, the headmaster gives the date of birth. Normally, the 1st June of that year. That is how most of the people who got 1st June of that year, it is the date of birth given by the headmasters. So I finished my elementary school in the village and 6th standard in the nearby high school. Then for my 7th standard onwards, I moved to the Mofussil town, the Taluk town, Dindigul. I am from Tamil Nadu, so some of the guests are from Tamil Nadu, so I am telling that I belong to that area. I was hostel student from 7th standard to, of course, till I completed my PG. So hostel has its own regimentation. If you are in hostel, you pick up some sort of discipline. So in the school and things like that, we were not very, we did not know the importance of the studies. Unlike our friend Mr. Naveen, was so fortunate enough to have the vision of becoming an IAS officer at the age when he was doing 8th standard. We did not even know how to study and why we should not study. That was the basic concept which we are not knowing. So after schooling, the people who those days, like the present day, the doctors and engineer profession, these two professions were even well recognized in the late 60s. My age is 72. I belong to that era. Perhaps I am the oldest person present here in the hall, I think. So, people who do well in their schooling, they get into the what they call is A group and B group and C group. I was an averager, so I could get only the C group. So, of course, as our friend hotelier was mentioning, I also had my education all through in Tamil medium only. So, then after passing the PUC, I joined the BA history group in the same college, Dindikal. Again, I was an hostler. In the hostel, I had a roommate who was doing his English literature. He was we have become somehow close friends. And in that year, it's 1970, 71, his brother, like Mr. Naveen, who got into IAS, is from Tamil Nadu cadre. He may be, Mr. Naveen may be knowing his name, Paul Ilangovan. So, this gentleman, when he went to Missouri for his basic training and professional training, he used to write a letter to his brother, who was my friend. And he himself was an English literature student. So his English used to be so flowery language, and he used to describe the academy, the environment, the nature of training, the content, all this thing, and the mess nights and dinners like that. Once in a fortnight, my friend used to receive a letter, and after he reads the letter, he used to pass it on to me. I used to take more than a fortnight to complete that letter because it was written in a very polished English, which I used to find it very difficult to understand at that stage. Then only I heard about the UPSC and IAS and all other services and things like that of UPSC. So with that background, after clearing my BA, I joined in my post-graduation. There also I was very fortunate to have another roommate of mine who himself wanted to become an IPS officer. And that is how I perhaps got the inspiration to appear for the civil service after doing my post-graduation. So from that time onwards, I started looking everything from UPSC perspective. So after completing my post-graduation, then I took up, I came to Chennai. I was in a coaching institute for about a year. At that time, I prepared for the exam, and in the first attempt itself, I got into the service. Then I entered the service in the year 1977. Then I was allotted to Andhra cadre, undivided Andhra. I served here, then I retired in 2010. So this is about the raw story or whatever I have to tell. Of course, much water has flown under the bridge. These days, as Mr. Naveen was mentioning earlier, competition has become so sharp these days, and the unemployment is on the increase. Unless you have a dedicated approach, it is very difficult to crack through in any walks of life. As Principal Madam was saying, the attitude determines the altitude of a person's life. So the same thing, it is, how many of you heard about Thiruvalluvar? Could you raise their hands? No, other than Tamilians. None. So Thiruvalluvar is one of the well-known Tamil poets. In Tamil literature, he has written a literature piece called Thirukural. It is a 1.5 line or 2 lines couplet. In one of the couplets, he says, he points out a small, the water lily ponds or the lotus ponds. In that he says, you are the flower of that lotus comes out of the water and blooms, and the level of the water depends, and depending on that level of the water, the stem comes out of the surface of the water and allows the flower to bloom. In the same way, our efforts, whatever we make in our life, that only gives us the result. So, with these few words, I thank the organizer of Off Bricks and for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.